All right, fellas, we are live. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Blah. Bam. Bazinga. All right. Okay, guys. So today's symposium is going to be on sovereignty and dominion. And this is essentially core to productivity. Because what are you really trying to get out of being productive? Like, what is it that you actually want? Like, why do people do anything productive at all? Well, there's really only one answer. It's people want power so that they can turn their thoughts into reality. The way you turn thoughts into reality is through power. So the more power you have, this is basically a measure of how easy is it for you to turn thoughts into reality. That's essentially what power is. That's what productivity is. We're trying to grow in power. So the way that we grow in power as humans, the way that we have done it for millions of years, like the reason we're the apex species on the planet, is because we have intelligence, right? Like we're more intelligent than other animals. We have more wrinkles in our brain. Ooh. And so what we've learned how to do is basically say, hey, I have a will of my own, right? And then most animals, they have a will, they exert that will to get what they want. Humans know, like the special skill that we have is we know how to imbue our will into other things. And this is called influence. All right. So growing in power is growing in influence, directly correlated. And so if you want more influence over reality, over people, places, things, if you want it to be so that you can offload your will, and this is the highest leverage thing you can do in productivity. Like out of all the productivity, I guess you could say like loot boxes or things that you could do, like goals that you could have, this one is actually, I don't know. It's like tied up there with executive functioning and like intelligence. But I mean, it's kind of an extension of both, where it's like, I'm going to make it so that I'm not the one doing the thing. It's no longer about me trying to exert effort to get the thing done. The thing just happens. Like I will it into existence and it happens. Right? So creating that skill, creating that structure in your life. Now, let's see here. So something I want you guys to think about, kind of realize, is that everybody and everything that has ever come into power, this is how they've done it. And right now, all of us in this call exist under a nation. Whether you're American, XYZ, whatever. You exist under a nation. What is this nation doing to you? It is exerting its will and its power over you. And so what this nation has basically done, and what all things that have power over you are doing, is they are basically saying, okay, we own a share of your being. That's what influence is. Influence is owning a share over other people's actions. That's how you can think about it. You're owning a share in their being. And so if you want to be sovereign, then what you have to do is try and break as many of these influences over you as humanly possible. And the extreme version of this, like somebody who has basically done it, would be a monk. And if everybody just wanted to be a monk and just like completely disconnect, then like these people are actually truly free, right? But, maybe you're not that ambitious. Maybe you're pretty ambitious, but you're not that ambitious. So if you want more out of life, if you want to grow in more sovereignty, right? But you're okay with not having total, then that is a skill that you can grow in. And what that actually looks like what you really do. Actually, no. Here, let me bring this back a little bit. So, nations exert power over you. Companies exert power over you. Here's another one. Your environment. Your environment is actually constantly influencing you. Influencing your environment is much higher leverage than changing your behavior. Because if you change your environment, if you change your inputs, right? Because that's what your environment is really doing. It's like a constant low-level input. That's how you can think about your environment. You're going to get different outputs. And so if you better the input of your environment, you're going to passively get a better outcome. This is like passive income for reality, kind of how you can think about it. You want passive income for just your life getting better in general. So exerting your will over your environment is one way that you can make your life better. Or it's like, you know what? I'm gonna make my desk clean. I'm gonna make sure my desk is clean so that I can think clear. Or I'm going to, I don't know. Maybe I have a roommate. Maybe I'm gonna move out. Maybe I'm gonna move somewhere where another person's influence isn't disrupting my own, because we basically have to share bandwidth living in the same space. And like things that they will do will interrupt my flow. Things that I do interrupt their flow. Right? So sovereignty is really about control and making it so that other people don't have influence over you. And so I'm going to give you some more examples of this actually. Like one of the ways that people influence you, that they basically, and here's the thing about influence, like what influence actually is, what you are actually doing as a human when you are influencing something is you're saying, hey, guess what? I'm not spending my resources on the thing that I want. I'm going to make you spend the resources on the thing that I want. Right? Like that's basically what's going on. And sometimes this is through a trade, and the person who wants more influence is basically always looking at, okay, how can I give them less than they're giving me? Right? Like that's kind of the game, is like, how little can I give you to get the maximum return? And so that's leverage. That's what we call that. And this is just the nature of reality. This is how things work. And this doesn't have to be evil either, by the way. Like you can have a deal where both subjects are completely happy and feel like they got a ton in return, but still leverage it in a way where you probably got like 3 times as much value. Right? So making offers, learning how to craft a good offer, that's another good thing. But let's see here. So the content that you consume, when you are consuming content, what is actually happening? When you allow other people's ideas to influence you, when you allow other things people say to influence you, it's the same concept. You are basically allowing them to take a share in your mental space, in your heart, in your being. And so what they are doing is they are basically changing you to be more like them by exerting their willpower over you. And even if this is just watching a short on YouTube, like every single piece of information that you consume, because it's going into your head, and it's living in your head rent-free now, it is influencing you. It is changing who you are. And so you want to be careful about who and what you are letting influence and change you. And hopefully, you're only letting things influence and change you where the people who are trying to influence and change you have good intentions in mind. Or it's like, let me build up your kingdom, instead of utilizing the resources of your kingdom to make my kingdom and my dominion stronger. Which, I mean, people can be doing both, right? They can be helping you and you helping them. And that's the ideal way to live. Like, that's how it should be. That's ethical. And so I'll make a little disclaimer. I respect your guys' sovereignty. I'm very grateful that you guys come to these symposiums. And I will do my best to try and increase your kingdom. And in return, I'm very, very grateful for you increasing mine with your powerful thoughts that are helping me. Because I always learn something when I come to these too. So, thank you. But, let's see here. Hello?
Thank you, Damien. I just want to, for the record, state that you have already changed and influenced my life in significant, incredible ways. So thank you for hosting these.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot to me.
Put that in a testimonial and sell it. Go for it.
Bet. Okay. Well, it's on recording. All right. Thank you. But yeah. So this sovereignty thing, like this influence, and here's another thing about influence is it can exist. It's your will on autopilot. That's how you can think about it. So when people plant seeds in your mind of content, what is happening? They're basically planting their will into your heart, into your mind, and then from there, their will happens on autopilot, like out of you, using your resources. That's how you can think about it. And so it's really, really important to be careful what you're watching and what you're allowing to come into your mind. Because people who, let's say like people who argue about politics, whatever the politics may be, like every ideology, what is an ideology? An ideology is some other person's will that they convinced you to carry for them. That's what it is. And, you know what? Yeah, we'll take it here. We'll make it a little biblical. So in the Bible, just to kind of like get even more of a picture, in Revelations, it talks about the beast. And the beast basically is the willful force of evil or pride. And people basically keep spreading it around to each other like a virus, where it's like, I'm going to exploit you. I'm going to extract you like a resource, and I'm going to put my will in you. I'm going to force you to do something against your will. That's what the beast is. And then it grows into all these like structures like, the evil corporations that we all know about, and governments and people arguing online. The beast is division. The beast is let me take all of what you have and like start war with you. Right? And so we want to disconnect from this as much as possible because nobody wins when this guy's winning. And the opposite would be, God, or like, let me serve you, right? Like I'm going to serve you, and then you're also going to serve me because we're going to be doing an exchange of value through an offer or whatever that looks like. But where was I going? That was a little sidetrack. So yeah, willful ghosts, like really like your will just exists in another person or another thing. It's not just people, it's your environment, it's systems on autopilot. Like a company, a structured company that somebody has built. What is that? That is an extension of that person's will, where all the systems that come together to form that company and get the output that they desire, that is an extension of their will that they have built into reality, right? And so this is the way to power. It's like you build things or you convince people to do the work for you. This is literally the only way to power. This is what power actually is. Making other people and other things do things for you. And I'm going to take it a little further here. So your computer, you look at your computer, and this kind of ties into your environment. Your computer, if things are just, in fact, I could say that literally every item and every object is an extension of somebody's will, right? Because it's like they had a will to create it and then they created it. Or somebody had a will to create the system where this then became necessary and then it got created, right? And so your computer, if that's the case, if all these things around you are an extension of your will, and if your space is a reflection of who you are, then your computer is a reflection of who you are. Your computer is an extension of who you are. In fact, everything you interact with is, but especially your computer, because this is where you spend a lot of your time, a lot of your focus, a lot of your resources, right? And so if your computer doesn't do what you want it to do, in the same way if your body doesn't do what you want it to do, then you have less control, right? It's less influence, it's less power. And what we're seeing a lot of now is companies are getting very, very invasive and abusive towards their customers, especially software companies, where it's like, it's no longer you are owning the service, it's you are paying to use the service. You're paying a subscription. And it's no longer the service is configurable to you, it's everything is locked down. And it's no longer, oh, I'm getting this in return and it's very valuable. And I mean, sometimes they do. There's always a trade happening. But the service is like, I'm going to take your data and I'm going to sell your identity, pretty much. So, I mean, you want your computer, ideally, to be a space that reflects who you really are, what you're really about, and that you have power and influence and will over. Because your computer is basically the highest leverage tool in your life. Like, that's why I'm saying it. Like, aside from your brain, it really is the next step, like away from your brain. So having a computer that does what you want is really important. So think about that. Maybe consider switching to Linux. I don't know. It's up to you. But whatever you have influence over, your environment, the people around you, your computer, these are called domains. Like wherever your willpower can reach, that is your domain. Like that is your kingdom, right? And everybody has overlapping domains. So it's not like anyone is completely sovereign. Like everybody has overlapping domains. Like even the big corporate honcho who like owns the world, it's like he still owns the world and there are people in the world who have influence over the world, So like everybody's domains are overlapping. And sovereignty is basically, let me minimize other people's influence over me, which let me reword that. Because if you're in agreement with it, if you like the influence they're having over you, then that's technically an extension of your will because you've made an agreement, right? But if it's something that you don't really like, or maybe it's like, oh, I'm addicted to YouTube Shorts, and it's like YouTube basically has a stakehold over my identity right now. YouTube Shorts has a stakehold over my thoughts. You don't want that. So sovereignty is minimizing these influences that are not helping you and maximizing your influence in other spaces, in systems, in other people, in these ways. And this is how you grow in power. So Executive power then becomes building your kingdom. Where it's like, if you want more power, if you want more leverage, if you want to get more done, because like that's what these calls are about. It's like, how can we get more done, right? That's the focus. Well, you as one person, you can't really get a lot done. Like, I'm sorry to tell you, but the human system just by itself is like flimsy. It's flimsy, it's crumbly, and it's weak. Like, really, it's weak. Like, ape strong together, right? Like, that's how we have come to power, is by banding together. And so, like, you as a system, the way you can think of yourself as a system is you are just a system that creates systems. That's it. Like, that's actually your entire power as a system, is you solve problems and you can create systems. That's it. That's what you can do. That's pretty much the only thing your system can do. And so, sorry, my brain is dropping the ball for a second here. Give it a second to recover. I mean, it does a lot more than that, but that's essentially its like primary function. And so you want to be the person who is building systems and creating influence if you want more power, if you want more things to get done, if you want more output. Because if you're just one person, you cannot get a strong output. Because again, your system is flimsy and weak. Like, you get distracted. You get emotional. You drop the ball. Like my brain just did just now. I lost my thought completely. The human system is flimsy. You know what doesn't lose thoughts completely? Text. Like, I wrote this stuff down. So it's there. It's not flimsy. At least not nearly as flimsy as my brain. I would never remember how to do all this Symposium stuff. I mean, I could probably build like a flow, but I'd be like forgetting steps and doing XYZ. Like, don't rely on the weak, flimsy human system. That's why I have this checklist, right? And this is what creating a domain looks like. In fact, the way that I'd want to structure this is most people, right? Most people are trying to build a kingdom. Kingdom. If you want to be executive, which executive is basically output oriented. So it's like you're focused on output and power, right? And things running smoothly. Like, that's what an executive does. Their job is to make sure things run smoothly, but also to get a better output. And so if you want to be executive, then have the mindset that the kingdom and the domain and the influences that you're trying to build is not actually just like an area where you have like an influence, right? Like, that's cool. That's great. This is what a lot of nations have. I mean, they kind of they do get into the other one, but reframe it. So it's not, I'm trying to build my kingdom of influence. It's, I'm trying to build my factory of influence. And you know, your kingdom can be a factory and your factory can be a kingdom. They can be the same thing. But if you have this, okay, factory mindset, where it's like input, output, right? Like, this is a more executive way of thinking about creating your domain, creating your sphere of influence, where it's like, I'm going to make clear production lines to get the outputs and outcomes that I want. And you're going to keep building these in your life until you have the life that you desire. And this just takes some time and it takes some deliberation. And if you focus on this first, everything else will come. Like, literally everything else you want will come. If you make things, here's the key word: reproducible. This is what you're aiming for. If you want to build a good factory, you aim for reproducible. And if you want to be a good factory manager, what you are thinking about constantly is cost. This is essentially what executives are thinking about and obsessed with 24/7. Like, chief executive officer, this is their entire mindset, is what does it cost? What am I putting in for what am I getting out? Which the word for this is ROI. What is the input and what is the output? What is the return on my investment? And so if you have this mindset of I'm going to focus on how I can get a higher ROI for my factory, for my domain's factory, then you will surely grow in power. Just how it works. If you keep focusing on that, if you keep having it in your heart, right? It'll happen. And so, let me check how much time we got. Ooh, we got 4 minutes. Nice. So, where did I put this? Let's do a little review. So, really, what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a kingdom or a factory if you want more influence, and maybe you don't, where the input is your desire, and you're trying to lower what I would call latency. And latency is the time and effort and resistance you have to go through. You can write those down. Time, effort, resistance that you have to go through until you get your desired outcome. So if we're going to think about life like growing in influence and growing in power so that we can get more output, because it's kind of an interesting play there where it's like, if you want more output, you have to grow in power, right? And so growing in power is almost always bottleneck. Actually, yeah, no. Getting kind of abstract here, but yeah, no. Like the bottleneck is what you want to be focusing on. And the bottleneck is usually power. And it could be in a very specific area, or it could be in general. But if you fix power in the specific area, it will generally add to your general power. So you're always looking for the bottleneck. And you're going to say, okay, how can I eliminate the latency here? That's what you're looking for. Eliminate the latency. So let's say you have a morning routine. And let's say you realize that at certain points in your morning routine, you're getting distracted. You get off course, you get off track. Let's say there are some days where like people message you, which by the way, this is influence. They're influencing you. So you have to decide if that's okay, if you want that influence or not. And if they're messaging you, they're distracting you. You're not always getting the output you want. You don't have reproducibility, right? So it's like, what could you do here? Well, you could make this more like a manufacturing line where it's like, okay, and I'm going to give you an example of what I literally do, like what I have in my house right now, is I have basically, this is called a standard operating procedure. Like that's what this is, this checklist. It's just a list of things that I go through. Standard operating procedure, SOP. So I have an SOP that is literally broken up across my entire house, where it's like next to the door over here, on the fridge over here. And it basically captures me as an input and it says, okay, Damien, do this, do this, do this. And then after that, it says, go here. And then I go here and it says, do this, do this, do this. And I get reproducibility from this because I'm not forgetting. I'm not confused. I don't have to think about it anymore. There's no more effort. I reduced the latency because I reduced the amount of effort that I took. And I reduced the time because I don't get distracted anymore. I'm just basically telling myself what to do, right? And so this is an example of how your willpower can be like a ghost that exists outside of you. Because what I've basically done is I've exerted my will over future me with these SOPs, with this manufacturing chain of this is exactly how I want my mornings to go every single time. And then if I need to change it, if I want more power, I see an opportunity, I will change it. But right now it's good. So, how much time we got? 30 seconds. Okay. Focus on ROI, reduce the latency between your desire and reality. Find bottleneck. Be a factory manager. And make sure that the influence that other people have over you is influence that you want. And if it is not influence that you want, guess what? You can break away. You can break away. It's literally just, I'm going to put up a boundary or I'm going to find a workaround. And then it's not going to be smooth at first, but you just build this manufacturing line. And then guess what? Once this exists, once this is in place, once the process is found, once you forged the flow, then you will get the outcome you want consistently, reproducibility. And theoretically, like once you have this manufacturing line built, this is how you get high quality and high volume every single time. So you don't have to compromise on either. All right, guys. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's do a review. What did you guys all get out of that? We'll start with Aiden. What'd you get out of that?
First off, I just really like the way you kind of turned the idea of